AGR 113 Introduction to Economy of Agricultural Production.
What is maximum price? Maximum price is a limit or cap on a price set by a government or an organization. It is the highest price that can be set by a producer, group of producers, or a whole industry. Maximum price might be considered as providing a benefit to consumer, and why the price is kept below the market equilibrium, it has the effect of contracting supply and extending demand, and thus create a shortage. This is considered to be the main argument regarding setting maximum prices. At the maximum price, there will be a welfare loss. Now we go to advantages of maximum price. Maximum price involves the government making a normative judgment that the market clearing price is too high and needs to be reduced. The government may impose a maximum price for a variety of reasons. First, maximum price can be essential for daily living. Without a maximum price, some people may be unable to afford the good. By reducing the price, it can help reduce relative poverty. Next is monopoly exploitation. Each firm have monopoly power. They can charge high prices to consumer, higher than the marginal cost of production and higher than in a competitive market. A maximum price can be a way of reducing monopoly prices and also increase allocative efficiency. Furthermore, maximum price also advantages of monopoly supernormal max price. A monopoly sets price of PM and makes supernormal profit. A maximum price reduces the market price close to the equilibrium in a free market. Lastly, maximum price also produces to the inelastic supply. If supply is very inelastic, then a maximum price will not reduce the supply of the good. Therefore, there will be no fall in the quantity supply. Example of maximum prices. First, maximum price for train tickets. With monopoly power, train companies could increase the peak tickets, but government may impose a maximum price or maximum price increase on firms to keep ticket affordable, even if it lead to overcrowding. Next example of maximum price also, maximum price for rent. Government have tried different types of rent control to keeping the cost of renting below a certain level. Furthermore, maximum price for food. In some developing economies, there are maximum price for certain foodstuffs to keep them affordable. Problem of maximum price. Maximum price can make the shortage. A maximum price distorts the market and leads to disequilibrium. The demand is greater than supply, meaning many consumers will be unable to get the product at all. Cheap rents are no good if it leaves many people homeless. Furthermore, maximum price also encourages black market. Because of the shortage, it creates the incentive to develop a black market where people illegally trade the good. People could buy the good at the low maximum price and then resell to those customers who were unable to buy. This is potentially quite lucrative as some of those customers who miss out may be willing to pay a very high price. Maximum price can make a long queues. One consequence of a maximum price is that people will end up waiting to try and get the good before it sells out. This will encourage people to spend longer and longer in queues before it runs out. This time spent queuing represents a significant cost in terms of time. Lastly, the problem of the maximum price. Maximum price can produce the market will become less profitable for firms. In the long term, this may lead to less investment and also decreased supply in the long term. For example, rent controls may be a way to deal with the short-term problems of expensive housing, but reducing rents will discourage some landlords from letting out property. It may also discourage people from building houses.
What is a price ceiling? A price ceiling is the mandate maximum amount a seller is allowed to charge for a product or service. Usually set by law, price ceiling ceilings are typically applied to staples such as food and energy products when such goods become unaffordable to regular consumers. A price ceiling is essentially a type of price control. Price ceilings can be advantageous in allowing essentials to be affordable, at least temporarily. However, economists question how beneficial such ceilings are in the long run. How a price ceiling works. Price ceilings might seem to be an obviously good thing for consumers. They also carry long-term ramifications. Certainly, costs go down in the short run, which can stimulate demand. A broader and more theoretical objection to price ceiling is that they create a deadweight loss to society. This describes an economic deficiency caused by an inefficient allocation of resources that disturbs the equilibrium of a marketplace and contributes to making it more efficient. However, producers need to find some way to compensate for the price and profit controls. They may ration supply, cut back on production or production quality, or charge extra for formerly free options and features. As a result, economists wonder how efficient price ceilings can be at protecting the most vulnerable consumers from high costs or even protecting them at all. Next, advantages and disadvantages of price ceilings. The big problem of a price ceiling is, of course, the limit on costs for the consumer. It keeps things affordable and prevents price gouging or producers, suppliers from taking unfair advantage of them. If it's just a temporary shortage that causes rampant inflation, ceilings can mitigate the pain of higher prices until supply returns to normal levels again. Price ceilings can also stimulate demand and encourage spending. So, in the short term, price ceilings have their advantages. They can get to be a problem, though, if they continue too long or when they are set too far below the market equilibrium price, when the quantity demand equals the in-quantity supply. When they do, demand can skyrocket, leading to shortage in supply. Also, if the prices producers are allowed to charge are too out of line with their production costs and business expenses, something will have to give. They may have to cut corners, reducing quality, or charge higher prices on other products. They may have to discontinue offerings or not produce as much, causing more shortage. Some may be driven out of business if they can't realize a reasonable profit on their goods and service. Pros and cons of price ceiling. Pros. Number 1. Keeps prices affordable, prevents price gouging, stimulates demand. And its cons is often causes supply shortage, may induce loss of quality, corner cutting, may lead to extra charges or boost price on other goods.
Next, what is tax? Tax is an amount of money that a government requires people to pay according to their income, the value of their property and others, and that is used to pay for the things done by the government. The decision was made to raise or cut taxes. There are two types of taxes, namely direct taxes and indirect taxes. The implementation of both taxes differs. You pay some of them directly, like the cringe income tax, corporate tax, and wealth tax, while you pay some of the tax indirectly, like sales tax, service tax, value-added tax, and more. The purpose of tax. The main purpose of taxation is to raise revenue for the services, and income supports the community needs. Public revenues should be adequate for that purpose. Second, control of cyclical fluctuations. Next, for price stability, economic development, and full employment. What is direct or indirect tax? Direct taxes are non-transferable taxes paid by the taxpayer to the government. It's also a tax that a person or organization pays directly to the entity that imposed it. Example, income. Indirect taxes are transferable taxes where the liability to pay can be shifted to others. For example, value-added tax (VAT). The example for direct taxes is income tax, capital gains tax, securities transaction tax, perquisite tax, and corporate tax. For indirect taxes, sales tax, service tax, custom duty and control on goods, excise duty, and value-added tax. So now I will focus on indirect tax. Indirect tax is collected by one entity in the supply chain, usually a producer or retailer, and paid to the government, but it is passed on the consumer as part of the purchase price of a good or service. The consumer is ultimately paying the tax by paying more for the product. The advantages of indirect tax. First, everyone can contribute. Unlike income tax, which has to be paid by individuals in certain income brackets and not others, indirect taxes have to be paid by each and everyone who purchased the commodity. Persons not working in India like tourists and persons of lower economic strata also have to pay it because they will in some form purchase commodities. Second, they are convenient. Indirect taxes are very convenient as far as charging them is concerned. Firstly, the taxes can be very nominal and consumers don't feel burdened when paying such small amounts. Secondly, these indirect taxes are said to be hidden in the price, which means that the consumer only effectively sees the price of the commodity itself. Next, they cannot be evaded. Indirect taxes cannot be evaded because they are a part of the price of the commodity, so anyone who buys the commodity will pay the tax. Lastly, they are spread over a wide range. Heavy taxation in any one aspect of a service or commodity will be highly noticeable as well as a burden on the consumer. In this regard, indirect taxes can be beneficial since they are spread out over a wide range of products in smaller amounts. Disadvantages of indirect tax. First, indirect tax can be regressive. Since indirect tax is the same for both the rich and the poor, it can be deemed unfair to the poor. Indirect tax is applicable to anyone who makes a purchase, and while the rich can afford to pay the tax, the poor will be burdened by the same amount of tax. Thus, indirect taxes may be seen as regressive. Second, they raise price of commodities. Sellers can always calculate and collect the exact fraction of tax applicable on all commodities that they sell, and hence they consciously charge more than the tax amount so they can be sure that every buyer paid the indirect tax. But this has a cumulative effect and increases the price of commodities. The last one is no civic consciousness. Indirect taxes don't raise civic awareness because millions are not even aware that they are paying a tax because it is hidden in the price. The effects of indirect tax. An indirect tax is which is imposed by the government on individual and can shove the burden of paying tax on someone else, that is the producer, and the consumer will bear the burden. Last but not least, an indirect tax will increase the production cost and decrease the supply. Then the market price will increase and the quantity demand will decrease. So for the conclusion is, indirect taxes have both advantages and disadvantages, but no one can deny that they are important to generate revenue. While direct taxes can be collected from the rich, indirect taxes give an opportunity to the poor to contribute in their own small way. So both have their own place in the economy. So that's all from us, Group A. Thank you for watching.